It's a PvP best of 5. Now, I don't mean to go overboard on the superlatives here, but our red Protoss player, he is super! He's a former Code S player from South Korea, used to go by the handle Vampire. He's up against the American Protoss in blue. If you thought he wasn't coming back to this channel, you were led Astrea. Super's current world ranking is 73rd, Astrea's is 50th. I love Astrea because he somehow always manages to bring us the best games. He's yet to let me down. Well, we're opening up with what appears to be mirrored builds. At some point they will diverge in strategy, but until then, allow me to keep us occupied with a really bad mirror joke. So, the rearview mirror fell out of my car a couple months ago. I never bothered to have it replaced. Haven't looked back since. Why am I doing that with my mouth? I actually have a cymbal effect. These guys are currently so tightly mirrored, they have identical mineral counts and are even mining the exact same amount per minute. They both do a quick check around their naturals and decide to go for 2 gates. It's a common PvP build. If your opponent instead goes for the 1 gate plus tech, it gives you a window in which you can punish them. Hold on now, here's something potentially different. Astrea is beelining to his opponent for a scout, but Super looks to be taking a suspicious route. They've both dropped cores, but it looks like Super could be looking to hide his tech choice. Oh yeah, there's a proxy pylon. There's lots of weird spots you can hide stuff on Ephemeron. The rush distance on Ephemeron's only 35 seconds, so a proxy really cuts that down. This game's about to pick up in a very big way very shortly. Astrea's scout comes in, and if he's counting pylons, which he is, because of course he's that good, he's gonna see there's 1 short. Meanwhile, both players' cyber cores warp in. That means they can each make a tech choice. It also means they can start building stalkers out of the warp gates. It's a proxy robotics facility for Super, I love it! Astrea's going double stalker. Not ideal if there's an immortal coming out of that robotics facility. And now Super's bringing up his delayed scout. Astrea's wall-off is not yet complete, so he's going to be able to go on up and... No! Astrea warps into shield battery and blocks it at the last second. Super is denied. Though he's going to like that he sees that Astrea's dumping his time and money into stalkers. It's job complete. Astrea's going to cancel that shield battery. Meanwhile, Astrea's scouting hard to find that missing pylon, and he's about to. Switching to Astrea's vision, he appears to have plotted the correct course. He's gonna see that robotics facility and know that he's gotta go to DEFCON 1. It finishes warping in. Super immediately starts producing that immortal. Astrea's immediately going after that pylon. He needs to power that down immediately. Super, however, is bringing his stalkers up to defend. He's got 1 sneaking up on each side. Astrea's gonna flip on the stalker to the west. That could mean the immortal's gonna finish. Especially if Super's probe brings in a 2nd pylon, which it is. Astrea, however, will kill that stalker and secure the first blood. Super gets revenge by killing the probe going after his pylon. And now the completed immortal joins his remaining stalker for an attack. Meanwhile, Astrea is going to mount an attack of his own. This is a terrific call. Super has very little to defend. 1 stalker is not great against 4. This game just got awesome. We have simultaneous attacks, both of which could be decisive. Super's gonna pull probes and try to delay Astrea's assault. Probes are dying fast, but if his own attack succeeds, he won't care. Astrea's warping in a shield battery at home to help with his own defense. Super kills a pylon at Astrea's natural and he goes for the wall. Astrea's sentry tries to force field the ramp, but he's too late! Super gets the immortal inside! Super warps in 2 stalkers at home and he almost evens up the odds. He gets a kill and he does even up the odds. Super with an ace defense. Astrea is forced to flee his wall. That pylon's life is now forfeit. Astrea is going to lose 2 of his gates and a shield battery. And a warp prism has just joined the assault. Astrea is desperately trying to buy time for his own immortal to come out. 1 sentry is not going to cut it, especially with Super warping in a pair of adepts. Oh, Astrea with the Nexus recall. And he warps in a 4 stalker with an extra warp. Astrea just flipped the script completely. He's going after the warp prism. Super's trying to micro that immortal, but the warp prism goes down. Super gets a hardened shield on his immortal at the last second, but then Astrea's immortal appears. Astrea's stalkers are all dead, but they may have done the job. Super's reinforcing stalkers are going to have real troubles against that immortal, especially with a wall of probes soaking the hits. Super begins to stutter step his way out of there. He loses vision and then goes to full retreat. He does, though, have another immortal on the way. What an intense battle! We've just witnessed 2 clutch defenses won by each player. The net result is they're almost equal in supply. Super's not done attacking. He's warping in a pair of Adepts and he's going to have them link up with his 3 Stalkers. Astrea successfully repowers his warp gates and shield battery. He does not, though, have vision of the threat on the lower ground. Still, he's going to warp in a sentry and 2 more Stalkers to help defend. And the arrival of the second Immortal is going to significantly help. Both players are starting warp prisms. Oh, Super's Adepts are going to shape for the ramp. It's open. They're inside. Astrea races back to the mineral line to defend. But the shades cancel. It's a trick. The wall's now defended and Super gets up the ramp. He annihilates the shield battery. But Astrea's back now and he does have the Immortal advantage. Trapped by a force field, Super's going to need to Nexus recall. But it's a long 4 seconds. Only the Adepts make it out. And just like that, Astrea's up 10 supply. Super's gonna gamble and see if he can squeak out 1 more Immortal from his proxy robo. Astrea has anticipated this. He's marching the bulk of his forces over to destroy that robo. Super loads up a pair of Adepts into his warp prism to see if he can save it. But there's just no way. He sees the writing on the wall and cancels that Immortal. And then he immediately starts a new robo back at home in his main. Pylon goes down, robo's unpowered. And Astrea's gonna try to intercept that warp prism. The Adepts teleport down and attack the Stalker. It's a game of cat and mouse, cloak and dagger. Who will kill who first? Oh, that Stalker wants it bad. Astrea sends his army north to take on the Adepts. I think this is all a sacrificial ploy by Super. He's trying to keep Astrea busy. He desperately needs time to rebuild his home front. He's down 4 probes and a ton of army. He saves 1 Adept and flees over open water. Astrea's got him pinned back there. But all of his forces are out of position for where he really wants them to be. Oh, Astrea's figured it out. He's sending his Stalkers streaming south. And he's going to invest in an expansion. That just puts Super in a vice. One thing about Astrea, that dude is never afraid to expand. Never. And this time, it's absolutely the right call. Astrea's loaded up his warp prism with both his Immortals. He's headed for Super's main. Super has no Immortals of his own at this point. They teleport down and attack a luckless pylon. Zealots and sentries respond. Astrea micros the hardened shield. The pylon falls and Super's supply blocked. 2 of his 3 gates go unpowered. Super falls back to his mineral line and activates Guardian Shield. His Immortal's only seconds away. Super launches a counterattack with his Adepts. Somehow he's beating Astrea back. But Astrea uses Warp Prism Micro to escape the Zealots. It's simultaneous battles in the main once again. Super's killed a pair of probes, but the defending Stalkers are on him. Astrea finds another pylon to try to continue the supply cap. Astrea has successfully defended his main. Super's warp prism has been freed, so he's going to bring it in and see if he can keep Astrea busy. He's also going to kill an overextended Stalker at his natural. But can it be enough to get him back into this? He's way down on army, and he's supply capped yet again. The warp prism Immortal combo is doing so much damage. He'll have to... Oh, there's the GG! What a game! Oh, I seriously love that one. Small, low-tech armies outmaneuvering each other. This is Starcraft 2 at some of its very best. Just fun. The bad news is I think the rest of this best of 5 is going to be an anticlimax now. You don't top a game like that. But it's a best of 5, so I guess we gotta try.
Game 2.
I told you this guy never says die. You can have his laser when you pry it from his cold, dead, psionically enhanced hands. He is Astrea! Astrea is up 1 game. He needs 2 more to bring it home. But man, that last one was a sexy, sexy game. And his opponent, in the top right, is not just califragilisticexpialidocious. He is Super! And if you say it loud enough, it's something quite atrocious. Oh yes, I really did just do a Sound of Music reference in my opener. There is nothing I won't do for Starcraft. Nothing, I say! And that includes my commitment to tell a mirror-themed joke each time our players in a mirror match do exactly that. Mirrored builds. And so far, that looks like what we've got. It's looking like the popular PvP strat of 2 gates to tech. So here's that joke. A man standing nude looks in the bedroom mirror and says to his wife, "I feel horrible. I look terrible, ugly, and out of shape. Pay me a compliment." The wife replies, "Okay, your eyesight's pretty much perfect." Well, if you suffered through that, you made it to the 2 gates, which means we can now look for some differentiation here. The scouts are out. Do we see any signs of a proxy like Game 1? Astrea looks to be taking a direct path to his opponent's base. But Super once again looks to be veering off. Each player is dropping a cyber core as per normal, but Super's pathing is officially suspicious. And there is a proxy pylon. I guess Super figures he came so close to winning last game he might as well try the same strat again. But the cybernetics core has to complete before he's able to drop a robotics facility. Well, call me officially stoked, because Proxy Robo made for a great game last time. Pylon is warping in, core is moments away. No, it's a gateway! An interesting changeup. Not only does this drastically reduce the 36-second rush distance on World of Sleepers, if Super makes it to Warp Gate tech, he'll be able to warp in his units a lot faster, with a gateway within his pylon's radius. By now, Astrea's done his pylon count. He knows something's up. But he also knows Super has 2 stalkers on the way, which suits him just fine because Astrea's got 2 stalkers of his own on the way. Now, Astrea's actually going to send his probe back in. I don't know how wise that is. Oh, he plants a pylon. He just completed Super's wall off for him. There's a chance that he'll trap his stalkers inside. No, the stalkers both rally out. Those minerals are going to be wasted unless Astrea gets to cancel. But more important is we've got stalkers on a collision course here. This could be a critical engagement. Oh, there's the cancel. And back to our stalkers. It's a 2v2 matchup. Who will get the first hit? Neither. Super stakes the high ground, and they can't see each other. And that prompts Astrea to go ahead and expand. But he has to suspect a proxy, so I'll be looking to see if he drops a shield battery for protection. Super, on the other hand, has opted to tech with a Twilight Council. And given his continuous stalker production, I'd be suspecting Blink. Astrea does get that shield battery. He's also added 2 sentries to help defend, and he's brought his stalkers back home. He's expecting an assault, and if he can manage to hold, he should come out ahead. Super's linking up his stalkers. There's no sign of Blink research. He means to attack now. It's 5 stalkers to 2. Just how big a difference maker is a shield battery and a couple of sentries? Super stalkers are joined in a control group. He's headed up the ramp. Astrea sends out a hallucinated phoenix, but it's intercepted. Astrea's force field split Super's stalkers. There's 3 trapped in the back, and he goes after the 2 he's isolated. A stalker goes down, and it's the first blood. Super is forced to pull back, and Astrea pushes his newfound advantage. It's not very often that first blood's actually significant to the game. Astrea is able to tag a second retreating stalker. Super's offensive is over. No, he's warped in reinforcements, and he means to try again. He's also started researching that Blink. Super's gonna try to use a single zealot to tank some hits so he can get his stalkers in. It's working, he's killing sentries. But Astrea is warping in more units with the defender's advantage. Super's attack is once again thwarted. Once again, the shield battery is the critical piece of the Protoss defense. Oh, I like this. Super's trying to lure Astrea back to his warp-in point. Astrea thinks he's getting free hits in, but he's about to pay for them. Suddenly, it's a 5-on-4. 6-on-4. Astrea has finished his robo, though. And he's just started an immortal. If he can delay till then, he should be able to hold. The second shield battery he's warping in at his natural should help with that. Although Super really does need to do damage here, he isn't going all in with this. He has expanded to his natural behind it. Astrea's taking no chances. He's pulled a bunch of extra probes to help him soak hits. He's got a worker lead of 9, so he can afford the lost mining time. The unit's lost tab really does tell the story here. Super is materially behind. If he wants to get back in this, he's going to need to leverage his Blink. That's not the pylon Astrea made, by the way. Super actually warped in that pylon to protect himself from counterattacks. That way he could commit his entire army to offense. But now he needed that door open so he could Maynard his probes. And that is why he's blowing up his own pylon. Astrea's first immortal is now on the field. He's also started up a forge. Astrea could wind up with an upgrade lead. Another speed warp in at the proxy. Oh, Super is tenacious. He's going to try to attack again. Only this time he's going to try to incorporate a trio of adepts. Astrea's first observer is going to spot them though. Oh, Astrea sends out his stalkers to deal with it. But he wasn't expecting Super stalkers on his doorstep. Astrea realizes his mistake and pulls back. Oh, there's an adept shade running for the ramp. Astrea's on it. He does a shield battery block once again. He cancels the battery as soon as the shade fails to complete. That's Astrea's moment to attack. He's got immortal superiority. Super cunningly uses the threat of a shade to force Astrea back. The door is open if he's... No, he cancels the shade. It did its job though. Super's army got away and I don't believe he revealed his Blink. Astrea's working on a warp prism. Super is adding a pair of gates and he's starting up a robo. But he's already 2 immortals behind. Astrea's gonna start a Twilight Council. It's like they're trading tech. Everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses. You ever suffer from FOMO in a mirror match when your opponent has a tech building you don't have? Super's actually gonna try to poke in again. The immortals have been loaded into a warp prism, so they're just not available for Astrea's defense. Super's got to be wondering where they are, because they are headed for the attack. No, he pulls back. Astrea had an adept checking to make sure the coast was clear. The adept is sacrificed, but it saves his warp prism from getting shot down. A very conservative move by Astrea to check before just flying out. Meanwhile, Super gets his gates and robo online. And he's halfway done researching resonating glaives. Astrea knows about the blink now, but he won't know about the glaives. Super hasn't seen it, but he really suspects there's a warp prism out there. Look at this, he's pulling back all of his stalkers so he can set up an intercept position. But the truth is, thus far, neither the warp prism nor the immortals actually went anywhere. Instead, Astrea is working on a gateway explosion of his own. He's adding 6 more gates to go up to 8, and he's quite close to getting +1. Super's remaining forgeless, but he has gone up to 7 gates. Really, the big disparity's in the immortal count. They're almost even on workers at this point, but 3 immortals to 0 against the heavy stalker army. That gives Astrea a potential window. I know it's late, but we're gonna get a nice opening warp gate ceremony here. Okay, I'm officially feeling very festive now. Who doesn't love black holes in reality in close proximity? Astrea's actually finishing up immortal number 4. And with +1 attack finishing, it looks like he's got the confidence to try and move out. Super knows he doesn't want to fight that army head on. He's just set out a warp prism loaded with 4 adepts. Oh, I do believe Astrea's finally had enough of that proxy. Super, though, is mentally abandoned it ages ago. The setback should not be too significant. And maybe its death will even buy him a few extra seconds to help him try to catch up and get back into this game. Oh, Astrea's actually sneaking a pair of adepts around the opposite side of the map. Oh, Super actually was supply blocked by that. Wrong again there, Zugzwang. There's never a good time to not be making units, but sometimes they're worse than others, and this is one of those really bad times. Astrea's on the march to his natural. Oh, just a huge warp in of stalkers. Suddenly the stalker count is 22 to 12. Super's third is finishing up. That's great, he could get an econ lead, but he's got to be able to hold it. I feel like he's shy about 10 shield batteries. Oh, Astrea pushes up the ramp! Super with a fantastic set of force fields. Astrea stopped dead in his tracks. Oh, my kingdom for just 1 Colossus. Oh, the adepts have made it into the natural. They're killing probes. Super is rushing his army back to deal with it. He's going to be completely out of position. Those sentry shields are not going to last. They are gone, and Astrea is marching on the 3rd. Super with a great force field split again. He isolates a single immortal while the other 3 are trapped, unable to fire. But the second those shields drop, he's in a huge amount of trouble. Super does have a drop, but the action is all here. Astrea's in a choke. He can't get everybody to fire, but he's got enough. Super supply is dropping fast, but he doesn't want to concede his 3rd. Actually, he's going to concede the game. Astrea's going to go up 2-0. He only needs 1 more win to take this series. And this game was pretty convincing. Astrea had a lead through almost every phase of the game. I know it was a lot more complicated than this, but yeah, Immortals are pretty good against Blink Stalker.
Game 3.
Having lost the first 2 contests, our red player now sits at the brink of elimination. If his name was Luigi, he wouldn't be a regular Mario brother. He'd be Super! Although Game 1 was razor close, Game 2 was a bit of a bruising for Super. What will Game 3 bring? I'm gonna have to first ask you not to leave your cigarette butts lying around. Please, be respectful and use the Astrea! Oh, that was awful. We are going to be playing on the map Nightshade, which is a cool map, but it's a little bit dark and less optimal for spectating. I recently learned that there's a new map out there called Lightshade. We'll have to see if it winds up making the map pool for 2020. And as the initial gates and gases drop, we can definitely see we've got mirrored builds. And let me remind you to always keep on top of your mirror maintenance, because if you don't keep your mirrors clean, it reflects badly on you. Ba-doom-doom-tsh. There, we got our mirror joke out of the way. And as soon as we get those second gates down, we'll be able to look at the scouting patterns to see if we're going to have yet another proxy. Will we be so spoiled as to get it 3 games in a row? So far, both probes are beelining towards their opponent. Looks very innocent. Let's see if the probes will actually see each other. No! Maybe just a flash. Each probe went around the opposite side of that stand of purple foliage. Cyber cores go down for both players, and their scouts should be popping up in each other's main at about exactly the same time. No doubt they'll both be doing pylon counts, but both players will find the pylons in the normal positions this time. Thus far, it's looking like our first standard game. Once the cyber core is complete, we'll see some tech choices. Seems to be very fashionable for Koreans to go for Twilight Councils these days, whereas the European players generally stick to the robos. Astrea is American, of course, but I believe he's living and practicing in Korea right now. And he's also known for thinking outside the box with unique builds. Both players have dispatched a probe to attack their opponent's scout, and the mirror madness continues as they both make 1 stalker, 1 sentry. Pylons go down at the natural for both players, hinting at expansions. The scouts are going to have to think about getting out of there. Stalkers are coming soon, but each player wants as much information as absolutely possible. The initial sentries pop out, and soon to be followed by the stalkers. Oh yeah, and they're going after the probes. But our players know their timings. They are headed for dodge. Meanwhile, Warp Gate started for both players, and Super will be the first to start an expansion at his natural. There it is. Astrea is just a few seconds behind. Safe, econ-centered openings for both players. Nobody showing any real willingness to take a poke at their opponent. Super is going to go ahead and add a shield battery. He's being extra safe. I don't think killing the destructible plates is going to count as our first blood here. The sentries now have the energy to send hallucinated phoenixes towards their opponent's base. Oh, we're going to have the old hallucinated handshake. Huzzah! I love watching that happen. Oh, but the real story is we've got a Twilight Council for Super. And for Astrea, we've also got a Twilight Council. We could be looking at dueling Blink Stalkers later on, for example. Astrea's really been focused on chrono boosting out his probes. He's got a slight worker advantage. Super's going to commit to a forge. Meanwhile, his Twilight's going to finish up. We'll see if he's going to commit to an early upgrade. Nope, nothing too immediate. Astrea's is also finishing up, but he's started a Robo Bay. His Immortals were definitely the difference maker in Game 2. There we go. Super has indeed started Blink. So for the moment, it looks like Forge plus Extra Gate versus Robo. No, not that simple. Astrea just started a Dark Shrine. But that's a pretty conspicuous spot. Super's going to scout that right away with his hallucinated Phoenix. I'd almost be suspicious this is information that Astrea wants him to have. Maybe he wants to force him into an overreaction. Because he's in fact adding resonating glaives. Definitely a series of mind games going on with the tech right now. Super's going to respond with a robo facility of his own, and he's going to start that +1 attack upgrade. No sign of a forge at all for Astrea. Super has sent one of his stalkers to scout the map. He's definitely starting to wonder what his opponent is up to. So am I. The answer may have something to do with that warp prism he's making. It's got a rally point headed for Super's base. He could be looking to warp in DTs. There's still no detection for Super at this point. But once he gets that robo up, he can make an observer. Oh, great timing on that hallucinated Phoenix. He's going to spot the warp prism as it flies out. Oh, Astrea's going to be adding some gates. 2 to be precise. We'll want to keep an eye on that warp prism. We could be looking at our first significant attack. But back at home, Astrea's adding gates 3 and 4. And he just canceled the Dark Shrine in favor of a couple more gates. It was a fake out, and he did force the Observer out of Super. But it's not like Observer and Robo Bays are useless. Super Stalkers are on that warp prism. It's still empty. It's got nothing to drop. It parks, but it's going to need some land if it's going to warp in any units. Right now, its only function is to tie up a bunch of Super Stalkers. Astrea clearly knows the dead zones on this map where he can safely tuck in his warp prism. Super's actually pulled his Stalkers back. He wants to bait Astrea's warp prism into coming out so he can kill it. Back at home, Astrea's got that first Immortal, and he's almost on Resonating Glaives. Super is going to start a gateway explosion of his own. Another great timing with a hallucinated Phoenix. Astrea's going to know exactly how long he has before those gates come online. With Resonating Glaives finishing up, he might decide he has some kind of a timing, but he will be at an upgrade disadvantage. Super's about to finish +1, and he does have Blink. And he's going to start his own Immortals. And a Templar Archive. We could be seeing some Archons added in later. Super's Stalkers are getting active on the map, looking to shut down the scouting. But Astrea is indeed pushing out. His combined arms army is going to include 2 Immortals. He'd sure love to have a reinforcing Warp Prism, though. Oh, Super Stalkers are going to run into it. He doesn't want that engagement. Astrea's got a much larger army. There's the defensive blink away. But if the Stalkers are busy, Astrea knows he can sneak out his Warp Prism. He makes a huge round of Adepts. He also has 2 more Adepts driving into the natural. They're going to be the first blood, but their real function is to pull Super's army back. But Super didn't bite. He is guarding his ramp. Oh, fantastic force fields. He traps an Immortal. A terrific start for Super. A third force field splits more units. The Warp Prism's overextended. Super Stalkers bring it down. Astrea's larger army is busting up the ramp, though. Super's gonna want to fall back to a shield battery. Guardian shields are everywhere. Astrea isolates Super's Immortal and returns the favor. Super has to find a way to hold on. He's got level 2 attack and zealot upgrades in the works, but he has to survive for them to kick in. Astrea is now on top of his natural, but his attack force is shrinking. Oh, Super blinks on top of him. Meanwhile, Astrea's Adepts are working away at the main. Super just keeps warping in to survive. He's catching up on army size. Astrea sends in his reinforcing Adepts. It's Glaives versus +1 Stalkers. But another warp in from Astrea means those Adepts are badly outnumbered. Astrea tries to sneak his way to the mineral line, but Super blinks on top of him again. Astrea's army has been decimated. Huge advantage for Super. They are, though, even on economy and bases. With time, Astrea may be able to catch back up. But once Super gets that double upgrade lead, it's gonna get ugly. He's not waiting for it, though. He's sending his Blink Stalkers over now. Astrea's gonna try to warp in a forge of his own, and he started charge. Super's gonna try to cement his lead by going up to 3 bases behind his attack. Oh, huge blink forward onto the Adepts. Astrea gets the force field split, and then he has an Immortal arrive just in time. He's literally hanging on by that Immortal right now. Super's gonna try to realign his units. Meanwhile, he's made an Archon back home for defense, and he threatens to go behind Astrea's mineral line. That brings Astrea out, and when it does, he blinks right on him. The Immortal goes down! Astrea pulls probes to survive and throws everything he's got left into one last Adept charge at the natural. Probes are starting to die. There's nothing left to defend at Astrea's natural. But at Super's natural, he's got a cannon and an Archon. Oh, spoke too soon. Astrea gets out another Immortal. Oh, Super's also got charge lots to help defend. They close in on those Adepts instantly. The Adepts are just no match for upgraded charge lot Archon. And they're just seconds away from completing the level 2 attack upgrade. There is just nothing left for Astrea. He throws in the towel and Super staves off elimination. We're going to Game 4. It was a bit of an unusual one in that the first blood actually came towards the end of the game. Astrea attacked with a nice timing here. He had a much bigger army and resonating glaives, but a combination of ramps, force field splits, defensive warp-ins, and shield battery play not only let Super survive, it swung him the game. Astrea passed on upgrades in favor of a win-now move, and when it didn't pan out, that put time in Super's favor. But Astrea had the luxury of a game to burn here. At 2 games to 1, he still has the advantage, but it does mean Super will survive to CA. Despite the punishing loss, our blue Protoss player to the north has yet one more chance to close this out. It's still 2 games to 1. Dictionary.com defines him as no results found. He is Astrea! His opponent in the bottom red, defined by the dictionary as of an extreme or excessive degree, he is Super! He's either about to tie up the series or head to the locker room. Well, actually, he's just dropping his initial gate in a very mirror-like fashion, but you know what I mean. It's been 2 gas, 2 gate all series long, and there's no sense that they'll change now. Which means I may have to subject you to yet another mirror joke, and we are scraping the bottom of the barrel here. But on further reflection, we could just skip the bad jokes and get right to casting the game. On further reflection. So there's our double gases for each player. And you'll notice even though their mineral field has been maxed out, they're gonna keep producing probes. Because they will both need them soon enough, both players are looking to expand here. At least I assume we should check their scouting paths before we make any final conclusions. I think it's time for the Great Watchtower Challenge of Triton. Which probe will claim the watchtower first? Will it be Super? Will it be Astrea? Oh, it's gonna be close. Set your unnecessary hype to maximum because it's Astrea! It's a nail-biter of a photo finish. And speaking of finishing, the first gates have now completed for both players, and the cyber cores have gone down. And those very specific timings are going to be confirmed as the scouting probes make it into each other's main base. And unless something unusual happens, that's likely going to prompt each player to look to expand. Super's going to dispatch a probe to go after Astrea's scout. We're going to have a little bit of a dance here. And the exact reverse is true in Astrea's base. He's dedicated a single probe to chasing out Super's scout. Meanwhile, warp gates start up for both players, and both players choose to make a single stalker and a single sentry. It's so helpful to get that early sentry. If you get it out, you can get it to start building that energy. Shields are good for safety, but you really want that hallucinated Phoenix ready early. Otherwise, the period of time in which you have zero scouting information gets bigger and bigger. Because both of the scouting probes have officially worn out their welcomes. The initial stalkers have popped out of their gateways, and they are more than capable of chasing out unwelcome probes. Oh, it's gonna be Super who's gonna expand first. Yes, there it is. How far behind will Astrea be? His probe's in position. He's got the minerals. Oh, we've got first blood potential. Super's chasing down one of Astrea's probes. A stalker is just a little bit faster than a probe. 4.13 to 3.94. And the range on his laser is 6. Astrea's got no way to shake him. Super's not giving up. Astrea needs to find some trees to block vision. But no, Super nails him. And that's our first blood. Astrea did drop that Nexus at his natural, by the way. There it is there. But of greater note, Super started a Twilight Council. That's going to be his first significant tech choice. Astrea's going to go for the trusty Robo-Bay. It always feels like their paths have taken a major divergence, and then 30 seconds later they just go and warp in whatever building they didn't get the first time. Oh, early forge for Super. He really maximized his upgrade advantage last game. There's that Twilight Council warping in. He's going to immediately start Blink with that. He's also got an extra gateway warping in. Astrea's also going to grab a forge. But just like his Nexus, it's several seconds behind. You see he's got that probe on patrol at his choke. Its primary function is to warp in a cheap shield battery, if Super tries to shade in an adept. But it's actually Astrea who's got the adepts. He's sending out 2, and they look to be taking the long route. They're swinging west for a clandestine path. Oh, but there's a hallucinated Phoenix for Super. He's gonna spoil the surprise party. Super could not have timed that better. It's now officially less likely that Astrea's investment is going to pay off. Astrea is also scouting with the Phoenix. He's going to buzz Super's main and see the timing on those upgrades. It's going to prompt him to drop a Twilight Council of his own. Super also completes his Phoenix run, and it causes him to decide he's comfortable borging both of the gases at his natural. 2 more simulators on the way. Astrea's second gas is delayed. Super's essentially done everything faster, except for the robotics facility, for which he's quite far behind. He's just starting one now, whereas Astrea is already starting his first Immortal. It looks like Astrea's abandoned that Adept rush. He's just stashing them in a corner in the west. Speaking of stashing, Super's warping in a Templar archive. It's more than halfway done. Everyone is teching like crazy. With the Adept raid called off, there is no action at the moment. Both players are just racing to complete their tech trees. Here comes that Templar archive. Is it just me, or does it not look like a giant duck's war helm? Doesn't it kind of look like a cross between Boba Fett and Mother Goose? Don't mess with Battle Duck. And Astrea's warping in a Battle Duck of his own. But that's not all he's warping in. He's adding 3 more gates. That's going to take him up to 5. Super's been staying on 3. Oh, Super's got active with a couple of his stalkers on the map. He's found the stashed adepts. They got ambushed and they're trying to shade away. Oh, but there's a pincer, a 3rd stalker's on the other side. They're gonna focus one down before it can shade away. Second blood is not a thing. It's not a thing, but if it was, it would go to Super. That lone surviving adept is trying to make its way out, but Super's not done with his interceptions. 3 more stalkers look to trap it at the watchtower. The adept turns back, but there's no safety there. Super's 7 stalkers now have blink and +1 attack. This is a timing likely designed to try to delay Astrea's 3rd. Super's gonna start his own and then see how long he can stop Astrea from matching him. Astrea's like, joke's on you, I never built one. Super's like, that's fine with me, I can work with that. Oh, he's got vision of Astrea's observer. He's going after it. His own observer's decloaking it. Astrea's just taking too many losses. Oh, he's gonna save it with a recall. Nice play. No, he didn't want to spend the energy on that, but that's far better than losing the observer. Oh, now Super's gonna check that third again. These 7 stalkers are so active. Super's 7 stalkers is totally like my new tongue twister. But it's his observer that confirms there's nothing going on at the third yet. But not for long. It looks like Astrea's got a probe headed out there as we speak. Oh yes, but he's unescorted. This is gonna be dangerous. Super's got an opportunity to keep his opponent on uneven bases. Oh yeah, he blinks in, assassinates the pylon, kills the probe, and cancels the nexus. Astrea's got the immortals to hunt him down. But Super's much more mobile. He can blink out of there whenever he needs to. Charge Lot Archon Immortal is a lot beefier strike force. And if he pulls him to the third, he should be able to finally build that nexus. He does, and for the moment it looks like Astrea might be going back home. He's got to be happy with the amount of time he's delayed that third. His is already warped in and he's main-arting 5 more probes to it. Astrea needs to do something to get himself back in this game. 4 charge lots in a warp prism could be what he needs. Super's pulling his stalkers back. He might know. If he can defend this, that would be very significant. Astrea takes position. He's waiting for something, possibly a distraction, or a sign that Super's moving out, which he is. Super's got the bigger army, but that's only because of the zealot count, and he's only just starting the charge upgrade. Astrea already has it, but Super is about to get a window where he'll have the level 2 attack upgrade. Oh, Astrea's moving out as well. He might just be trying to bait Super out so he can use his warp prism. Super has the watchtower. He's gonna see this coming for sure. Super's extra base is really kicking in right now. He's out mining his opponent even with less workers. Both players really want to take a fight at the top of a ramp, which means that for now there's no actual engagement. I think they both remember how critical positioning was in Game 3. Oh, Astrea's gonna slip in a single zealot on the west side, and then on the east it's gonna be the warp prism drop. Oh, he's gonna go after a famous caster pylon. That's powering his zealot leg upgrade and his robo. Super with the defensive warp into 5 zealots. He knows that's not gonna be enough. He's gotta rush back with a portion of his main army. Astrea's gonna quit while he's ahead and save his warp prism, but his speed lots are gonna go to town on as many pylons as he can. Super warps in 2 more pylons to try to get his tech back online. The stalkers are here to clean it up, and Super's gonna try a drop of his own. He's got 4 zealots inside his warp prism, but he pulls back and saves his teleporting paratroopers when he sees the level of defense. Super did get supply cap for a whole 1/10 of a second, but he's cleaned up the zealots and warped in a ton of new pylons. Astrea's gonna run in a couple of more distraction zealots to the west. He's probably looking to see if he can get another opening to slide his warp prism back in there. Speaking of openings, Super's warp prism's still looking for one. But look at the scramble defense Astrea has dedicated to preventing that from happening. It looks like Super's gonna give up and instead add his warp prism to his main army. But Astrea's prism's gonna try for harassment round 2. Astrea warps in 6 zealots. Super warps in 6 counter zealots. And he's finally got the zealot leg upgrade. Ah, but Super with the Nexus recall. That turns the tide very quickly. He also warps in a photon cannon in anticipation of the next drop. That warp prism is still very much out there, and likely to remain that way unless and until he gets a Stargate. But Astrea's distraction zealots did a ton of probe killing on the west side. Super's lost 11 probes. And just like that, Astrea's tied up the supply, and he's got the mining advantage. Astrea's third is much more saturated. Oh, Super's gonna start up a pair of Stargates. He's definitely had enough of that warp prism. Astrea might be even getting an overreaction out of him, unless he's got plans for an interesting transition. Super sends in a hallucinated Phoenix for the scout. He wants to find out if this is his moment. And what he will find is that Astrea started warping in a robotics bay. Super has been so on with his hallucinated scouting all game long. Oh, Astrea's gonna go in a 3rd time. Super does have that cannon, but he's also gonna warp in 4 additional stalkers to defend. Astrea doesn't like the looks of that. He's gonna pull out. At this point, the constant threat of the warp prism is actually more deadly than the warp prism itself. Oh, but it's another zealot attack at the 3rd. Astrea forces the probe pull, and he's gonna draw Super's main army. Oh, those poor 2 zealots are so outnumbered. Super's got a single zealot looking to cut them down. The pair's like, why are we running? We outnumber this dude. He's like, no you don't. I've got a 50-man army behind me, see? Hey, where'd he go? Super pulled his army and left that poor Zealot all alone. Oh, no, there's a hit squad to clean this up. That poor single Zealot, he totally got hung out to dry. But hey, if you're gonna give your life for Aiur, you gotta be ready to give your life for Aiur, you know what I mean? Oh, Super's looking to get aggressive with his main force now. He's got a demonstrably beefier army. Astrea's compensating with the choke, but Super's looking to rip down those rocks. And he's going to use his warp prism to reinforce behind it. Astrea's going to retreat back to his shield batteries. That's been a winning formula for both players in every game so far. But here's something new. Astrea's adding disruptors. That's the kind of splash damage that could get him back into this. Super's army is heavily compact. Super's looking for another attack route. He doesn't see the need to smash himself on Astrea's shield batteries. Both armies are swinging to the right. Astrea has an extra robo facility at his third. He warps in to reinforce, and Super's gonna pull his charge lots back. No, Super's going for it. This is gonna be the big one. Guardian shields go up. I'm blinded by the Archon splashes. Super's gonna reinforce with his warp prism. He's adding a huge round of charge lots, but can they get to the front? Astrea's got his Archons tanking. Super uses his Phoenixes to lift the disruptors, moving them from the equation. But it's Super's army that's falling faster. The tide is definitely turned against the red Protoss. He needs to recognize it. This fight has become very costly. Oh, Super is pulling back just before the point of no return. No, he's gonna try to reinforce. But Astrea's Immortals are gonna butcher the warp-ins. And now he's able to add disruptor shots to the mix. Super's army has been devastated. Astrea's army is now 3 times the size. There are, though, very few Stalkers left. And so the Phoenixes are gonna be able to pick up some kills. And Super looks to be sneaking in an Immortal drop. If he can get behind that mineral line, he might be able to get some econ damage in. Oh, but there is a cannon. Super's gonna kill it, but by the time he does, Astrea's main force has arrived to defend. Super has officially gone from max supply to 84. And he's not stopping with the Phoenix production. It's been surprisingly effective for him, but I don't know. Blink Stalkers are pretty good against Phoenix. I guess it's relevant that Astrea only has 2 of them. Astrea's now added his +1 shield up. His Archons have just gotten even scarier. He's also going to attempt to expand with a 4th, and he's curling a huge stream of Zealots around to the west. He's had a lot of success running Zealots into Super's 3rd. Super has caught back up on probes. It's his army that's now sorely lacking. I love watching Phoenix try to escort a slow ship. Don't their pilots know how to slow down and match its speed? Oh, this well-timed Immortal drop from Super is going to shut down that 4th. An extra base could be decisive for Astrea. Oh, and so could this massive Zealot run. Oh, there is a photon cannon there this time. That will help, but it is going to get overrun. Super's going to recall his army to defend. Or what's left of his army. Phoenixes are not bad against Zealots. Zealots don't shoot up, and that kind of is RTS 101. Ever wonder what would happen if Zealots borrowed a Marine's Gauss rifle? That would be so boss. Man, it would suck to be levitated to your death. I did not think much of that Phoenix transition, but Super is leveraging it and finding a way to make it work. The Zealots finally have something they can attack, so they go after those Immortals. But the Warp Prism just picks it up. It was bait. Now the Phoenixes are going to go to town all over again, with the Archons backing them up this time. But with his Zealot count decimated, isn't Astrea just going to be switching to Stalkers now? He's about to finish Blink, and he's trying for his 4th at an alternate location. So is Super, by the way, which has become critical, because they're both pretty close to mining out at their mains and natural at this point. Super's up to 9 Phoenixes at this point. Astrea's investing in Colossi. To my mind, with Phoenix, Super's already got his counter ready to go. I can't believe how well he's making this transition work. He's really making me look bad here. We're actually only halfway to the Crimson Zone here, but if Astrea and Super actually reset their max armies, we could be looking at a Crimson Zone game. But for now, what I'm looking at is 9 Phoenix Warp Prism Escort. This Warp Prism's so sensitive, he doesn't just need 1 wingman, he needs 9 of them. Astrea's gonna chase that drop attempt away, and he's gonna add a photon cannon and shield battery to make that base even harder to drop in the future. Neither player has that impressive an army right now, but with fully operational 4th bases, they have a great deal of minerals pouring in. As long as Super keeps ducking and weaving, the supplies for both players are going to continue to climb. Astrea's army has a lot of splash damage in it right now. Super's just gone up to 8 Archons. Astrea's definitely got the lead on upgrades. Astrea has +3 attack to Super's +2, and Astrea's got +2 shields. Oh, probe losses for both players. Astrea ran Zealots into that 3rd once again. And it looks like Astrea's decided to attack. He's moving south with his death ball. Super's gonna chase off those Zealots. But that's really just Astrea trying to get him out of position. Astrea's got his Colossi on top of Super's 4th. Super pulls probes. He does not want to lose that Nexus. The Nexus goes! Oh, it's even more spectacular when they make you wait 16 minutes to see it. I love how Astrea warded off Super's army using disruption shots. The only way Super gets to attack is if he eats a couple, and he's going to. It's a big clash, but Astrea's a lot beefier. He's gonna kite with his Colossi. Super's Archons are gonna pursue. They're just taking hit after hit. It's like a greatest hits album, but Astrea's designing the jacket. Oh, GG! That's the game. That's the series. Astrea is our winner. He gets the chicken dinner and will advance. Well, in a way that kind of worked out perfect. In the final game, the players had the Titanic macro battle, showcasing their late game army compositions. But can we just highlight something important? I've finally revealed the truth here. The Grand Commander of the Protoss Templar is actually a giant duck. Come on, admit it. This totally looks like the war helm of a large-billed waterfowl. I'm going to do the only publicly responsible thing to do when uncovering a conspiracy this large. I'm going to tweet it. That's right. Zugzwang is now on Twitter, or at least trying to be. If anyone cares to follow, we'll be able to let you know when our latest video drops, or if we have a deep Starcraft-related thought to enrich your lives. So in the meantime, permit me to remind you to live life, because nobody wants to die, and hold position. To continue your Starcraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your Starcraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.